Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Riley's Back talking about sports. You know how that goes. Not usually great, but today I feel like everyone's given their opinion on how this college football playoff should go. And if you watch my YouTube channel, you would know I gave my opinion on it last year, so I'm going to do it again. Last year was more to advocate for South Carolina to be in the playoffs. Unfortunately, it didn't end up working out. This year, they don't deserve it. Anyway, moving on. So this is the 12-team format. As you can see, I did my best to remake it in the way I believe it's supposed to go. This video is going to be about who I believe should be in, not the whole bracket, who I think is going to win. Obviously, as I said, who I think is going to win. I personally believe Ohio State's going to win the national championship again, despite my better judgment. So, to get into it, we're going to start with some teams that are eliminated, and we're also going to start with some scenarios. So, in the ACC, everyone knows the ACC is absolute chaos, and if you're paying attention, Duke, 5-loss Duke, is in the ACC championship. Whether you agree with that or not, I don't personally agree. Obviously, I don't think really anyone does. I think it should be Miami, Virginia. But, moving on. 5-loss Duke, nonetheless, 5-loss Duke's in the national championship, ACC championship, and we can't change that. So, with that in mind, I do not believe the committee would put a 5-loss Duke team in the 12-team format. I know what you're thinking. But Riley, this is how it works. Every Power 4 team gets an automatic bid. That is not the case. If you do not know the rules, here is the rules. Is the 5 highest rated conference champions, not the Power 4 in one group of 5. That is not the actual rule. So if Duke were to beat Virginia next weekend, this opens up JMU to have a chance to steal the final playoff spot from the ACC champion. With this in mind, I do not think this eliminates the ACC from the college football playoff completely. I'll get into that in a minute. So, we'll start with some eliminations, and to my absolute sadness, Vandy has to go. This is sad because Vandy, I believe, is a deserving team, a very good team, and had a couple of losses that is what it is. The Alabama game was a lot closer than the score said, and they were getting blown up at Texas, almost made a comeback. I wish I could put them in justifiably, but Texas and Bama both have tiebreakers on them. So, unfortunately, I don't think they're going to make it. There's about a 1% chance they make it, and it has to be like a lot of things have to play out in their favor. So, with that in mind, let's hop into it. We're going to start with our 1 through 4, because it's probably the easiest part about this. So, number 1, Ohio State, been the best team in the country all year. No debates there. Second best team in the country all year has been the Indiana Hoosiers. It's going to be very interesting to see how these two play against each other this coming weekend. Who I think is going to win? I personally think Indiana is going to win. They have better offense. In my opinion, they have a better offense, better pass game. I think Ohio State's a slightly better run game, but I think Fernando Mendoza is going to get them rolling. And although I think it's going to be pretty low scoring, I think Indiana is going to escape with the win and steal this 1 seed from Ohio State. Obviously, that's not the way it is right now, and Ohio State definitely still could win. I digress. Number 3, Georgia. No debates here. No debates here. 1 loss to Bama. And everyone else, they've handled business. Obviously, they've had some close calls, but they deserve the 3 spot as the SEC champion, or my SEC champion pick right now. Although Bama always beats them in the regular season or conference championships, I don't think it's going to be that way this time. I could be wrong. 4, Texas Tech. I think this is a very solid top 4, and I don't think anyone should be debating this. Texas Tech, in my opinion, is the best non-Big Ten SEC team in the country, and I think they are actually a lot better than what their conference usually puts out. They kind of remind me of TCU a couple years ago, except the difference is that they have a really good defense in comparison to TCU had a really good offense. Not to say they don't have good offense, but they are a very good team. I could see them maybe going on a run and winning the national championship. All 4 of these teams, I think, have a very solid chance of winning the national championship. Okay, moving on to number 5. A lot of people say, well, maybe you should put Texas A&M here since they only have the 1 loss on the road in rivalry weekend in Texas. That's not where I'm going. I'm going to go with Oregon. I think strength of record, who the only team they've lost to, second-ranked Indiana, who is 12-0 and in the conference championship against the best team in the country. So Oregon has handled everyone else. They had the handle. They have a couple of decent wins in there. I wouldn't say they have a great strength of schedule. They don't have great strength of victory, I will say that. Although I do believe Oregon is still a very good football team, and they will be a lock for the college football playoff. Number 6, this is where I go Texas A&M. It was really a toss-up between Texas A&M and Oregon, in all honesty. They are very, in my eyes, they're very similar teams. They haven't played a whole time. Obviously, A&M's had a bit of a harder schedule. They have a couple of better victories. But neither of them have played particularly incredibly difficult schedules compared to the rest of their conference. So, or their one loss wasn't that bad. Obviously, I think Oregon's loss is way better than A&M's loss. I don't think A&M should have lost the game to Texas. Regardless of how you think, A&M's going to be at 6, and they will have a home playoff game. Number 7, this is where it starts to get a little bit iffy, I will say. And here, I'm going to go with Oklahoma. No, sorry, Ole Miss. My bad. So, I think this is pretty self-explanatory, although they did lose their coach, Lane Kiffin, going to become LSU. How very Lane Kiffin of him. He moved on, but I don't think Ole Miss moves on. I think they still make the playoffs. They still have a very good team. I think they're probably going to, I don't think the coaching is really going to affect them too much for the rest of this season, at least in the playoff. They have a very good shot to make it past the first round. They obviously are going to have a challenge, but I digress. I believe that they are still a very good football team. Every team I've mentioned to this point, I think, has a chance to win the national championship. Now it's time to move into teams I don't think have as good of a chance, and that comes with number 8, and that was Oklahoma. I almost put them at 7, but based on their almost loss to LSU this week, not a great LSU team, and some of their other losses throughout the year. In fact, they only have a 10-2 record and not in the conference championship game. Definitely brought them down a little bit. However, I still think they're a very good team. They have a very good defense. The offense is going to raise a lot of questions. This first round matchup, in my opinion, is going to be very interesting. So, now we are at the 9 through 12, which is very tough to predict. So we'll start, and I think this is going to start to get a little controversial. At my 9, I'm taking BYU. Lost one game to the 4th-ranked team in the country. They're playing them again this weekend. I don't think we should discount what BYU's done this year because they lost one game on the road at a very tough Texas Tech team. Obviously, I don't know if they're going to win this week. It's a lot more possible. The reason I say teams like BYU over Bama, over teams like Notre Dame, over teams like Texas, is because of the strength of record, and their only loss was to Texas Tech. Bama, Texas lost to Florida. Notre Dame lost the only two playoff games, playoff teams they played on their schedule this year. They lost both of them. And obviously, Bama has just the 2 losses, although there can be an argument to be made that Bama should be in the spot and not BYU. Now, this brings us to the extremely hard number 10, because this is going to be the last position that is an at-large bid. A lot of teams here that I'd consider to go with, but for me, personally, I'm going to go with the Miami Hurricanes. I kind of sound robotic, I know, I'm sorry. But I'm going with Miami because of they look like a national championship team, except for 2 weeks this season where they looked bad. That's it. And it was when Carson Beck had a total meltdown in the game against Louisville, and they still almost won. And then in the other game they lost, it was kind of the same thing. Carson Beck had a total meltdown, and they still almost won. They've beaten Notre Dame. I think that eliminates Notre Dame from playoff contention. Bama, it's tough to go with Bama, but I'm thinking on the lens that Bama's going to end up losing to Georgia in the conference championship, and if they do, it's going to be very hard to justifiably put them in over on Miami. That should have been in their conference championship and probably would have won. Texas, 3 losses, lost to Florida. Just because they had the really good win, it's a rivalry game at home against Texas A&M. Just because they have that win does not justify them to be in the playoffs. Very simple. So that's why I'm eliminating all these guys. Now it's time for the 11 and 12. I think the 11 is very obvious because I don't think Virginia is ever in any universe going to lose to Duke. If they do, it changes a lot of things. Not only does that eliminate them from the playoff, it also eliminates, it opens the door for a team like James Madison to come, or Bama to come in and steal it. I digress. And for the 12, I'm going to go with North Texas. I just think they are a better team than Tulane, and they're going to be able to prove it this weekend. If they win, they play Oregon on the road, and that is the current college football playoff bracket from the biggest college football brain on the market. I'm kidding, obviously a joke. I read it and weep. If you don't like it, I don't care. If you do like it, good. If you don't, if you don't like it, you can go argue about it in the comments. I don't care. I probably won't respond, but this is the current bracket, and this is what I'm rolling with. Have a good day, fellas.